All right, so here's the part of the podcast where you get like an intro or something like that. Unfortunately, we're not really great at those. So this is our introduction. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Alex.
And we're going to talk stuff.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, but here we are. We're back!
We are back! I know. Everyone's been clamoring. Calm down. Calm down, Twitter. Calm down.
Everybody's been so crazy. The fans have been out in droves, backed by popular demand. The demand is
outside
real.
of my apartment. I had to shoo them away from the fourth floor. Go home. Go home. It's raining, I say.
It took me 3.5 hours to just walk from the sidewalk into my building because there was so much fan traffic.
Yep.
I've never seen so many topless dudes just excited to hear podcasts.
I thought you were going to say white people in your neighborhood.
No, there's none of that here.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
There's none of that here.
That's what I figured.
I'm all for making jokes, but I like making jokes that still have some kind of realm of plausibility.
Okay.
There's no white people here.
Yeah.
I'm the only one.
Yep, I figured.
So sports gambling?
Yeah, man, that's pretty crazy what's been going on.
Just a heads up, I've got about 5 or 6 gambling related puns that I'm gonna try and weave into.
Oh wow!
Yep, I'm pretty excited.
Wow, I hope you get them all in.
I feel like I probably will. If I have to force it, I'll probably get it done.
Well, good. Well, so
tell me what you think. What's on your mind?
I mean, no, it's just like, okay, so the decision came down, what was it, like 3 days ago now? What was it, Monday, I believe? And I guess...
Evergreen.
Right, exactly. So, and this had been like in the court system for a long time as far as sports betting. I know like New Jersey's been spearheading this because...
They love spears.
They've been... Yeah, exactly. I think it's more so because they wanted... Atlantic City to kind of get back on its feet a little bit and get their.
It looks like shit.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. And to, I don't just bring in more income, basically, I think through their horse track racing and just through other things. But they've been on the forefront with Chris Christie trying to do this for a number of years. And they actually won a number of rulings on like every level, but then eventually got to the Supreme Court. And I heard it was in there. I just didn't know like a decision was being made soon. And then obviously Monday it just came down that now it's basically in the fate. Every state has their own, free will to kind of regulate sports betting, how they see fit. And immediately it was just like craziness as far as like, well, I saw a lot of like on Twitter, like people that normally like gamble, they're like, great, all this does for my life means that everything I do now is on the up and up. But I mean, that
was kind of my thought with it. Like, is this going to have any kind of impact? Like, what are the ramifications of this?
Well, initially,
like, what are the stakes?
Yeah. Oh. Well, I was looking up some stuff, and I guess they were saying that Nevada typically, obviously, Nevada's no state that does sports betting and has sports books at the moment, and they typically bring in about $5 billion to Nevada a year on sports betting, and half of that is on the NFL usually.
Wowzers.
And it's been pretty actually steady.
I don't know why anybody ever gambles. Like, you're just going to lose.
I mean, yeah, unless you like...
There's a reason why casinos are so profitable.
No, that's for sure true. And the books are like the books,
Yeah.
It's very hard because, especially with NFL, the thing is with NFL is obviously there's not that many games. It only happens once a week, so it gives people time to kind of like, think about their bets all week, and it's kind of obviously NFL is the most popular sport to watch,
yes.
And so like obviously it's going to be the most popular sport to bet on as well. The only problem is because there's only 16 games, every week, and sometimes less when the bye weeks happens. It's like the actual people that are doing that are actually giving the lines don't really have like a ton of information. they're obviously thinking about like weather and all who's playing and all that stuff, but it isn't like they have a ton of games to kind of track. 16 games is not a lot when you have a whole team of people looking at it.
Very true.
So these lines are always like very accurate. I mean, they're usually like dead on. So it's like, that's why it's kind of hard. It's like 50-50 as far as like you winning. I mean, but for some of these guys that like do it in Vegas, at least, it's like they'll take, if they win 55% of the time, that means they're making out, so
yeah, that's true.
That's kind of what they do. But, and I know you could bet on other sports. It's just in general, it's like not, I guess, prominent, or we don't really hear about like people betting on like, college basketball in droves, or like obscure sports, or,
like
just here and there, like, right, exactly. But like, when there's a big like boxing, you'll hear like, oh, the bets are coming in, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But you really won't hear it that much. So anyway, so behind this, there was, most of the sports leagues were actually against it because of like integrity of the game, and like and that's why in general a lot of the major sports
you risk gambling away your integrity. That's number two.
Right, exactly. Right, and I think, I don't know if it stems from the whole like Pete Rose thing, or like
that might be like, I never saw the big deal with Pete Rose, especially because he bet for his team. Like, I understand the implication of it, but he is everything that he's ever done has been damned to hell because of
absolutely, yeah, because it was just complete McCarthyism, like kind of, it was just like wild. I think like the NBA ref in the 90s, I forgot his name.
Joey Crawford?
But who?
Joey Crawford?
No, not Joey Crawford. The other guy who did the sports betting.
I forget.
I thought like that was way worse. It was like Tim Donahue or Tommy.
There you go. Yep, Donahue. Yeah, the white guy with the white gray.
I felt like that was way worse because obviously he has complete control to like do what he wants.
Yeah, I already think basketball refs are shady as fuck because fouls are so arbitrarily.
Yeah. So I get that. They're like, that's where they want to keep the integrity because of the refs or, whoever that is involved. And that's why they've stayed out of Vegas. I mean, just recently they got the Golden Knights team in hockey, and they're going to get the Raiders soon. But before that, really, like everyone was like a steer clear situation as far as Nevada sports goes, when clearly they'd make money in like Nevada. Like if you have teams randomly and wherever, I mean, they'd make money. I don't care what league it is, would make money in Nevada. But so now this opens up, every state can kind of regulate on their own. So immediately this meant a few of the states here on the East Coast, like New Jersey and Rhode Island, who are kind of ahead of the curve. People say they're probably like weeks away from being able to bet a sports book at one of the racetracks in Jersey.
Okay.
And I would say there's other ones like New York. I've been following New York obviously closely, but they say that we're months away. They're trying to I know a lot of states now, especially in whatever, are going to try and pass bills because they basically have to start bills now if they want the sports books open by the time football starts in September.
Which is the big driver, like you mentioned.
Right. So that's the big thing I know in New York State.
Missouri.
Right, exactly, yeah. And Missouri. No, but a lot of the East Coast states, like, they're trying to really, push it through so they can get betting by the time, September rolls around.
Oh, yeah, because that'll carry them for like...
Yeah, and then I've heard, like, okay, so everyone else is going to, some people are really behind. They're just going to start taking a look at it now, which means, I guess the timetable is every state, like, I don't know a state that wouldn't do this, but I would say every state is going to have some rules on sports betting in the next 5 years, let's say, seeing how long it takes to roll out. But they're going to have a lot of states almost like immediately. The drawback, well, that's great because now it's just going to be like a ton of like money flowing into states, and obviously now people could just like bet like at will when people were already doing it anyway. So it really didn't matter. I saw figures that were now, they said Nevada was doing the $5 billion, that like it could be as high as like $150 billion.
Good Lord.
That I know it's like insane. I don't think it'll be that high, but that's what we're talking about. Like something, a crazy explosive, 20, 25x what betting is now,
Yeah, shit.
Yeah. So only because now it's going to get refined. Now that it's legal and stuff, like you don't have to go like, I know they had all these kind of off-seas websites that you could go to and like do all that kind of thing, or
right.
you had a bookie or whatever. But now it's like, okay, every racetrack is going to have a book, It's like not I was gonna say Plinko. It's not Plinko. It's all those games like OTBs and all those games and stuff.
Oh, like
it's like the lotto. It's like the lotto. Like you'd be able to go into like a 7-Eleven and like bet on like the Rockets Warriors.
Yeah, just like Candyland.
Right, exactly. So you can do.
Yeah, let me get Blue Raspberry, Big Gulp, and let me get the Warriors by 8.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. And so it's just like everyone now wants like their hands in the pot, So it's like all the horse
which
horse
don't you think that's going to lead to? I know they're going to try to regulate everything, but don't you think that leads to anytime you add more hands into the pot and considering the potential of this pot? Is there like what's the over under? I didn't plan this one. This one just happened naturally. Like what's the over under on there just being like fucking chaos or some sort of scandal or problem resulting from this due to the high value potential of like the money situation and then everybody trying to get their fucking hands in the pot.
Well, yeah, what's actually going to be kind of the worst thing at first is it's a state by state thing. So every state kind of will end up having their own rules and not even on the same timeline. That's why a lot of people were hoping to get some sort of federal guidance on this to kind of get it across the board. Because even let's say where I think the biggest blow up is going to be is like mobilely, like apps, mobile, DraftKings, FanDuel, other, let's say if casinos like MGM or whatever, they want to put out an app that's a sports book and they're it like that's going to be the real, like people aren't going to want to, I mean, yeah, great. You can go to the racetrack and you bet a sports book, but if somebody could just roll over in the morning and bet on their phone.
Oh my God. Yeah. People are going to do
that. No, that's like what it's going to be. And that's what I immediately thought was like, oh man, now people are just going to be like, it's going to be wild on the phone. It's going to be like how online poker was back in the day, like times a crazy amount because you could just do whatever like on your phone. It's going to be wild. But I think there's going to have to be some sort of like, okay, dependent on what state you're in. And now like, the app, let's just say it's like DraftKings, FanDuel, or whatever. It's going to be like a state by state kind of thing. Like,
has Nevada? I mean, granted, they're like the only one in the game, kind of. But have they? No. Do they have like a good? Yeah. Do they have a good model for it? Is it to the point where like all these other states are kind of going to be like, well, let's do what they do, but maybe tweak it a little, or are they starting from scratch?
That's what I think. I think they're going to take Nevada's model and tweak it, but are they going to like tweak it in a way where it's like, okay, we want more money than Nevada makes somehow? Or because typically the house, I guess, they don't make a ton on sports betting. They make a ton on other kind of casino games and stuff like that. But on sports books, their typical
like Battleship.
Right. Their typical take home is like 5%, they say most of the time.
Okay.
And now all the leagues, oh God, now this is coming into play. All the leagues are talking about, especially, I guess it's mainly like the MLB and the NFL because they're the most hardened against it. The NBA actually, Adam Silver has been like super for it.
Well, the MLB is against anything that's like any kind of progressive, and then isn't like old school ways.
Well, that's the thing. Did you see? You guys see the? Mark Cuban did an interview about all this, and he said a couple things of note immediately. He's like, I think all sports franchises double in value like this minute.
Oh yeah, basically. I would definitely agree with that.
And I say that's definitely true. And then he was like, hey, this might even make baseball fun to watch again.
That's fucking funny.
And I was like, yes, that's how, hilarious.
The
thing, because the in-game betting, it's not only the betting before and stuff like that, but now that it has progressed where I know.
Well, yeah, like how many
you can do in-game betting.
Yes, how many runs are going to be scored this inning? Like
who's going to be at bet? I mean, every single bet. You think like prop bets in the Super Bowl crazy? I mean, they're just going to have generic prop bets every like game that are going to be like wild, like who gets the next like hit, who gets the next pop fly.
How many pitches does Bryce Harper see at this at bat? Like,
right, and you'll get a you'll get a line on all that.
Well, I think it could definitely make baseball fun because look at how, I mean, granted, football is popular, but look what fantasy football has done.
No, that's what other people said. This is like that, basically. This is what fantasy football or fantasy sports was to sports. This is the second game-changing sort of like, this is where we took a
we talked about it with the NFL episode. Like, I don't give two shits. I don't want to watch the fucking Jets Lions on Monday night. But you know what? If I got fucking Bilal Powell and I'm down by 5, I'm fucking watching that game.
Exactly. You're like, okay, get a catch out of the backfield. Okay, if he gets, I'll get 0.7 points if he does this.
I'm a huge Jet fan for this whole offensive drive.
Exactly. And that is the thing. They're like, okay, this is basically replicating that, but with like more kind of like real money at stake, or more like in-game. Because if you could do like in-game fantasy stuff, I know they have daily fantasy or whatever, but pretend this is like in-game now, that you're just, first of all, you're just sitting at Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever, and they have a sports book, and you just like can do whatever you want basically in-game. That's what I'm thinking. It's like, it's going to kind of revolutionize these places and how we just do things,
Yes, without a doubt. And it definitely brings more excitement to like certain sports like baseball, who most people are like, well, I don't want to sit for 3 hours and watch this, or this is boring, or there's no action. Like, yeah, if there's some sort of literal action in the form of, like betting, that's a big one. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so, and I've heard the model is going to be used, obviously, is like whatever Nevada's doing, but also England has had legal betting there for like a few years now, like 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is. And so they're going to use a lot of their kind of, I know their main like sports betting kind of place is called like William Hill or something like that. I know they're going to take a lot from them, or vis-a-vis William Hill is going to try to get over here to kind of expand, since they already have all this foundation in place about like how betting is done, and how like it's regulated, and kind of all these guys want to get in on the space because it's kind of close to everything, obviously horse racing, it's kind of close, but it's like weird to think you go bet on a baseball game in a horse track. But
I've always found that to be like, even that, like thinking that of you talking, you go to the
I wouldn't do that. I think like, okay, at first it's going to be in horse tracks, but that's going to fall off to me. At least, because I don't see like people racing to the horse track to go bet something. No. I really think it's going to end up being like mobile apps, and then whoever comes into the market, whether it's like William Hill, or if MGA makes a great product, or if Caesars makes a great product, and they just end up doing these like, I guess, classy OTBs. I don't know how to like kind of phrase it. Or if they just view, in my mind, it's kind of geared towards, I personally think they should partner with like Buffalo Wild Wings or TGI Fridays or some of these kind of places.
So you don't bet with cash, you bet with wings.
Right, exactly. Like, I bet you 3 triple hot sauces that... No, but I just think it makes sense to me to partner with like kind of sports bars and kind of bigger franchises.
Oh,
like
definitely
that.
Get yourself in the door, especially for those. Everybody loves to do like that. Let's go to Buffalo Wild Wings and watch the game or do this. And then, oh my God, if you have some sort of like gambling partnership with
that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe you don't have, because there's aspects, right? You need like
let the beers start flowing and the bets start flying, and everybody's broke.
Yeah, exactly. You need to like set up the books, obviously, in all these places, and all the technology behind it, and all like, all this stuff needs to get kind of like streamlined and regulated and everything like that. But once it becomes like mainstream, and you could just like, and I think people see the opportunities, because I think kind of the opportunities are endless with this thing.
Oh my God, there's so many like possibilities and like tangents that can just be that can come about just from this situation.
Yeah, because I think people are just thinking about it really like just surfacely right now. Like, oh, okay, I can go to casinos a bit. I could do this. Oh, yeah, you know what? It might be, on mobile soon and blah, blah, blah. But I think once it really gets going, and we're talking like maybe 10, 15 years later kind of thing, it could be like, I mean, once it gets really sophisticated and gets like ingrained in kind of American culture, I just think it could be wild.
Well, yeah, fantasy football is like a perfect example of that. Like, it's so easy for me to just pull up the fucking fantasy app on my phone and then check stuff right away, and then boom. Like, if you can do that with gambling, oh my God, especially like you got guys tweaking their fantasy lineup now from noon to 1 on a Sunday. They could easily just be checking the same information that they know from fantasy, like, oh, Gronk is hurt or this guy's down. That affects my fantasy lineup, but also the Patriots were like a 10-point favorite, but now Gronk is out, so maybe I'm going to take like the under on that game, or maybe I'm going to take the dog because I don't think the Pats are going to win by 10. Like they kind of go hand in hand. And again, to your point, like that mobile, that easy access type of thing where you can sit and watch like Sunday NFL Countdown and then at the same time like make whatever bets you want as that information comes in. Like that goes like fucking hand
in hand. Yeah, and that. I know I'm not saying stuff that people don't already know or whatever, and obviously there's a lot of like gambling experts out there and a lot of like books and stuff like that. But I just think now bringing
I wouldn't bet on it.
Oh, there it is. I wouldn't. I just think like now bringing this to the mainstream. I just think, say for daily fantasy, I got really into daily fantasy, and I was like, buying ebooks about it and buying regular books and looking at all
you had a fucking problem. I saw those spreadsheets. You had a problem.
I got all my spreadsheets. I got my optimizers. I use I had a subscription to like Roto Grinders to like do their optimizer.
I feel like you would just go on like a peyote bender and just do spreadsheet after spreadsheet.
I would love that. But there's all this like content to take in, right, about daily fantasy, and you could listen to a bunch of different people, and people are tweeting about it, and people are doing this or whatever. But now that's going to be about like sports betting, and not just like, oh, DraftKings, which is, it's all geared towards around football. I mean, there's obviously some other sports on there, but they're not like as talked about. Like there's like little niche, like, oh, they have their, like say on DraftKings, they have like their PGA experts, they have their UFC experts for how the model is and how to like win on daily fantasy. Right. But when you extrapolate that now, and then there's going to be like the, like live betting of like in-game stuff or like in-round stuff for like UFC or like beforehand, and the amount of like content and like I'm just thinking like ebooks and just like blogs and all this kind of stuff that's wrapped around it.
Well, look again, like the perfect comp is fucking fantasy football, and that's just like maybe somebody put like $100 in for their league or whatever. I mean, daily is like different, but everybody reads what Matthew Berry says and they watch all like the shows. I mean, there's a fucking 2-hour, 3-hour long fantasy football pregame show on ESPN2 on Sundays. Like, so if you take that just off the excitement of that and the action that it brings and put that with gambling, which can win people real shit or is going to make people think that they have the opportunity to win money. Like, oh my God, like people are going to fight that shit hard.
Yeah, I just think like it's so big. I think it could be like, ESPN4 could just be like gambling. Like it's like really wild.
ESPN8, the Ocho.
Yeah, exactly. Like it really could be because there's that much content to do, and like
it's endless.
I wouldn't
people
see
go to
like
Matthew
not
Berry
having
all day.
straight like straight hour-long, 2-hour-long gambling shows. I could totally see that, like football gambling shows and stuff like that, or
big time.
all this like crazy stuff. It's really wild. It's just there's so many opportunities I feel coming. Everyone knows that though. So
Scott Van Pelt already does like a little thing like that at the end on like his Saturday night shows during football season. They'll do.
He did. Like, he stole it from Bill Simmons, but sure.
Fuck Bill Simmons. And they'll do like the bad beat of the week and like different things like that, and going over spreads and all those types of things, and like that. Oh man, the mainstream possibilities of everybody just being like, oh well, I listen to this guy because he like gives me advice on like who I should bet this week, like, and people, oh my God, and with the unsure nature that gambling brings combined with the addiction, oh my God, there's gonna be a huge fucking market for gambling like shows and like podcasts and advice columns and blogs
exactly.
We might need to get
all the content,
so much
fun. and like you could get obscure with it, if really they get sophisticated enough and deep enough with the books, and you're talking about betting on like NASCAR or betting on like I don't know, like cricket and stuff like that. Like
at first I'd have to learn how the fuck cricket works, and then
I don't know how it works either. I know the ball skips, and then I see people hit it similar to baseball. No idea what happens.
I know I know behind
the
you.
Scoring is like very large. I don't know.
And like you bat for like forever until someone makes one catch, and if it goes through you, there's like 3 little posts, and that's the wickets, and that's where the phrase like "through the wickets" comes from, I guess.
That's more than I knew. So
I don't really. I tried to learn for like I was like, I'm going to learn cricket today. And I started reading for like a minute and a half. And I was like, no, never mind. And also not a great wireless carrier.
Oh, yep. Well, that's okay.
I wouldn't bet on them. I already used that one. Damn it.
Yeah, you did.
Damn it.
Anyway, yeah, I just, I think it's just a crazy kind of a landmark kind of thing. And I don't know if people.
No, I don't think.
In those terms.
No. Because I'll be honest with you. I saw the decision. Yeah, it came Monday. And I saw it and was just kind of like, huh. And then hadn't thought about it too much until you brought it up. And then everything now, like, yeah, the ramifications of it all. And that, yeah, like the whole partnership and the mobile side of it and just like the money. I didn't know like the amount of money, like the $5 billion that comes into Nevada, like is crazy. But oh my God, like the amount of money that people are that like some company or somebody's gonna be able to generate if they have like the best functioning app, or if they partner or do something with like Buffalo Wild Wings or like a Ducks or now something like that. Like
now everyone knows this, so now it's just like a race, kind of like who gets there first, kind of thing, and who can do that, who can do it the most sophisticated, whose app looks the best, whose app works the best, all these kind of things, and do they work on a state by state basis? Because you can't just roll out one app and it works the same across the board. You're going to have to roll out an app and then, depending on geographical
you'll have to
location, it's gonna the app changes to whatever the rules and terms are. So
yeah, you have to put on your location services, or when you first register, you have to put what state you're in, or do some kind of something. And then,
but anyway, I forgot that I was going to mention earlier that now baseball and NFL, they were very against this. So
yes, because the NFL doesn't let people wear fucking colored like socks that they want. I don't think they're going to want gambling.
So now they want something called an integrity fee on top of this.
An integrity? That just sounds like such an asshole thing.
No, they just want to get their hand in it. So now of the 5% or whatever cut that they're taking, they want to take 20% of that. So basically 1% of the 5%, and people are just like, that's not going to happen. But I mean, I guess we'll see. So
the NFL, they're such fucking shysters at the end of the day.
I mean, they'll find. Yeah, I know, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure they'll find a way to like make money off of this, either by partnering.
Well, they find a way to fucking make money off of like fucking breast cancer in the fucking military. Right. Like they have no shame, and their shame knows no bounds.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some sort of. I'm just trying to think on the fly, like. If you make an in-game bet within the stadium, could they get like a cut of that based on like GPS location?
Oh, they would push. Like that? I could definitely see them pushing for that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, But I actually think as big as just the generic legal sports bets go, which is going to be a very huge, on top of that, like think about something like McGregor Mayweather or Pacquiao Mayweather. If more people could have bet like in other states other than Nevada, think about the amount of money that went on those things. Yeah, these one-off things, it'd just be insane.
People are just taking bets at their house. They'd have like 15 people over and be like, "Oh, let's bet on the fight," and then have somebody hold the money and then fucking do it.
Exactly. It's like same thing. It's like, oh, you come over, everyone chips in the pay-per-view. Maybe everyone chips in on a big bet for a certain thing, or it could It could be anything. It's pretty wild.
I didn't think of all like the possibilities and the tangents and like what it meant, and the ramifications are pretty legit.
And then the actual betting, betting's getting a lot deeper. I mean, with futures and like all these kind of oh God, with all the parlays and like I don't know, just like how deep you can go, just not just straight like money lines and over unders, but just
and then all the prop bets too, like especially with hockey. Like I had one of my buddies was like a gambler but didn't watch hockey and wanted to start doing hockey stuff, and he was like, "Oh, like what do you think of this?" And and it would be like, "Oh, like Blackhawks Canucks, who's gonna be up who's gonna be up going into the third period? What's the score gonna be after one? Like does Patrick Kane get an assist?" And I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like oh my God. So if you have that, especially with the whole again, like the whole mobile side of it, I find that something that you can just easily like sit your fucking fat ass on a couch and just scroll some shit and then click, and click or figure out what you want and then set it. And oh man, like it's just so easy access, and it feeds that whole gambling culture even more.
Yeah. Yeah. So immediately when this this came down, I looked in on, I invest some like random things on like Robinhood sometimes. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get my hand in on the technologies behind the sports gambling, like the technologies behind like all the casino machines and like different things like that. Okay. And the sports books, because I was like, obviously like Caesars and MGM and all those guys are going to go up. But I was like trying to think outside of the realm with all the technology behind it, who could possibly like make out in this deal.
And what'd you come up with?
Oh, I got in on
I made a spreadsheet and got lost in the spreadsheet.
No. Let me see. I got in on something. Sorry. I'm trying to find it. It's called like sports marketing something or other.
That sounds like a really long like title.
Yeah, right.
They don't market themselves well.
I'll try to find it.
I feel like they're probably playing with house money. That's another one.
Wow. Look at you.
I'm pretty proud of
myself. Look at you.
Hey man, every great show requires prep work. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing the prep, you're not giving 100%. And if you're not giving 100%, what's the point, And you got to show up and play, go big or go home.
Oh, is this that generic interview? What was that from? There was like a movie with,
where the guy did
basketball, or if it was like something.
He just did, like, gave a whole bunch of just generic comments.
Yeah, the generic comments.
It is something. I don't remember what it is.
I can't find it right now, but anyway. I don't know.
Better team today, and
yeah, give it 110%. Yeah. Oh, that's recent. Actually from?
It's something recent.
No, it's not what I'm thinking of. What I'm thinking of is it's kind of funny. The movie's not funny at all, but it's funny that I just remember a random scene from that. It's from Bedazzled with Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth Hurley.
Oh my God! When he's the character who's
when he's the basketball player.
Yes, but he's got a small dick.
Right.
Yeah. What does he say? Like, you play good, feel good,
do good, 100%. You want to go out and give it 110%. Yeah, he just keeps like repeating himself over and over again.
He's a fucking idiot. You play good, you feel good, I feel good. Wow, who would have thought? What a reference. Isn't the end of that movie, he ends up like in jail, and God is like some black dude in his jail cell?
Oh, really? I don't remember anything about that movie other than Elizabeth Hurley was good looking, and
I remember the end is he has all the wishes like go wrong, and he has his one last wish.
He keeps trying to like redo it, right? But everything
he
like
tries
one
to make
time...
it like more specific, but she keeps like screwing him over no matter what. Like because the whole thing he's never specific enough because the devil's a fucking dick, I guess. And who would have thunk it? And his last wish, because his whole thing is like he wants to be with that one chick who like doesn't even know he exists. And I think his last wish is, I just want her to be happy. Or whatever, and I guess there's some clause. Oh,
I see, some sort of like selfless thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and so that undoes everything, and he ends up, I think, back at the beginning, or ends up in some other life, and I think like God sets it up so that he can be with Aaron. Some weird. I just remember he does like a nice thing as his last wish, and then Elizabeth Hurley's like, fuck, and then she disappears or whatever happens.
All right, that's your Bedazzled review, 2018.
This episode brought to you by
Bedazzled. Brendan Fraser.
I want to label this episode as like Bedazzled, and I want people to listen to it and like think that we're like talking about like how to bedazzle like clothes, and they're just like, when are they going to get to the types of garments and sequins that they use?
Oh, wow. I don't think our clientele, audience-wise, would expect us to put out a Bedazzler episode about bedazzling certain things.
It's important. We're very cultured. We're men of the world, and every day there's, we evolve and there's growth. And I think it's important to showcase that growth and to showcase that evolution. And at the end of the day, we're going to increase the knowledge for our fan base, increase the knowledge for the demographic. And if we bring some new fans in along the way, then it's all just, it's all just one good time. We do it for the culture and for the people. And at the end of the day, everything just needs to be 11 out of 10,
110%.
You stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Oh, it's like a Mojo Rollins thing?
No, these were Cerise quotes.
Is that his name? Oh, yeah, you're right about that. Oh, yeah. That is true. She did say that. Wow. She's a horrible human being.
She's a huge piece of shit. And if she listens to that, she'll know. I could picture her listening to randomly be like, what? Me?
No, I can't.
I could. We're going to be famous, man. We're going to be pretty popular.
No, we're not.
I think you underestimate the global effect.
All right, we gotta cut this part out.
I'm 100% leaving this whole part. The people need to know.
Absolutely not.
Well, that's unfortunate.
That's all I got in sports betting.
Considering I figured you were kind of dead. That's why I was trying to drag it out to fill it because we're only at 35 minutes. I'm also going to leave this.
No, we could just done a short kind of sports betting thing, unless you have some other questions, and then I could. Oh, but boy. It didn't seem like it.
Boy, store-bought maple syrup or pure maple syrup?
You know what?
You know what?
I don't like pure maple syrup.
I'm sorry? Like real maple syrup?
Yeah, I kind of don't like it. I think it's because I grew up on all that corn syrup crap.
I'm not going to lie. I think real maple syrup is great, but there's something really good about Aunt Jemima. Oh, that's one. Aunt Jemima or Mrs. Butterworth?
Oh, I'm an Aunt Jemima.
Yo, that's a good answer.
Person.
That's a good answer.
That's what I prefer over everything. So
that's a good answer. I actually have something to get back to that we can finish with this.
Sports betting?
No, not sports betting.
That's over? Okay.
No, we'll probably come back to it. But I was thinking, in going through one of our other things, you had mentioned the whole dudes using fans and the data you were trying to collect. And
yes.
So I've been using a fan now at night instead of the AC.
Okay.
But I have more questions with it. Question
one. How many people?
Yep, correct. How many people have you asked, and how many use fans of the people you have asked?
I would say I've probably asked whenever I used to work at a new retail store, it used to be one of the first that's
one of your go-to
2 weeks I used to ask.
That's one of your go-to questions?
Actually, at Adidas, I didn't do it, but I also hated my life a little bit more, so probably was the reason.
Yeah, but then you met me, and I brightened your day.
Right, obviously.
Clearly, I'm great. But this is have you asked more than 30 people?
No, I would say it's around 25, 30 people.
And the question is just straight up hey, what's your fan usage, or do you use fans?
No, I just I think I bring it up. Maybe it's the way I bring it up as far as I usually am kind of telling a story where I say that I use a fan.
So do you purposely try to tell a story involving a fan so you can segue into asking a question?
No, it's just me. I can't tell purposeful stories. I'm very ranting.
Oh, your stories, you start to tell a story and you get sidetracked.
It goes 90 different. Yeah, because it goes 90 different directions.
You're like the dog from Up.
I could tell a story and I could tell a singular story and I could probably tell it for 2 or 3 hours and you'd be like, shouldn't you have just said this? Or I could just tell a story that goes in 90 million different directions. Either of those things, you just want me to shut up. But it's funny because mainly in life, people think I'm really quiet and I don't talk.
What's funny is you're doing it right now.
Correct. But when I do talk, I go off the rails.
Can't shut him up.
Go off the rails.
Most
our podcast is so long.
So most people, it's funny that you were explaining what would happen and you explaining what would happen is giving an example of how it happins.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. But I would say I've asked between 25 and 30 people, I guess.
And everybody uses a fan?
I've gotten a solid 90%. I would say there's only been a few people that have said no.
And what's the are we talking just summer usage or this is a year-round using fans type of thing?
I don't know if I pressed it like that.
Are you using a fan in the winter?
I'm a year-round. I was always a year-round.
But why in the winter?
Why in the winter? I just having a breeze. I don't stagnant. It's more about the stagnant and not the cooling aspects.
So you just like air in motion?
Yeah, because even in the summer, if you think about it in the summer, even at some points, if your fan's on, it's just blowing around like warm air.
Correct.
So it's really
That's why.
not
Like, what's
keeping
the point of
you.
the fan?
It's not keeping you super cool. But I just don't like the stagnant air. I just like.
So, question: do you put the
movement.
fan underneath like the air conditioner, and then put the AC on, and then turn the fan on so it like circulates the cool air and has a lot of circulation going on?
No, I had never had enough money to get an air conditioner. I just had the fan on.
Okay. So I just felt like I've been using it recently, and every time I put it on, I feel like somehow, and I'm being watched or judged.
No. Also, I got used to the sound of a fan. It's kind of like a white noise for guys a little bit.
This is making me feel like I'm not a guy.
No, that's not true. I mean, everyone doesn't use fans. I'm sure this could be our Yanni or Laurel argument.
What did you hear? What did you hear?
I heard Laurel.
Yes, so did I.
Yeah, I know. My wife is
Evergreen.
like freaking out because she's like, "How did you hear Laurel?" We had the same argument about the dress.
My girlfriend heard Yanni.
Yeah, she heard Yanni too.
And I didn't think it was close. And I'm slightly colorblind, so the dress one I don't count for myself.
Oh, the dress one I got correct, and I didn't. In both instances, I'm very like stubborn and like kind of kind of set. But with this one, I really don't know how other people are hearing it the other way.
Yes, I don't get how you hear Yanni. I straight hear Laurel. At first when I heard it, I heard like, Laurel. And I was like, okay, I hear a little bit of the Yanni, but now it's just straight Laurel.
No, I just hear straight Laurel. And I kind of need to be, maybe there's some sort of like glass breaking that I need to read an article and see how to hear it the other way.
You said glass breaking and I thought of a Stone Cold Steve Austin entrance.
Oh, I think of it, there's a How I Met Your Mother thing that I always think of. A joke when like, if it's about like your significant other does something, but you don't notice it, but then when other people bring it up, you'll never not notice it again.
That's called a glass breaking moment?
Yeah, it's
that's
like
a very funny thing.
They had a thing where it's like they did a sound of like glass shattering or something like that.
Oh, gotcha.
And they did during that episode, but it's just, I don't know, it's just like funny. I think like of those things all the time. Like what do like I see in other people that maybe like whoever they're with or whatever doesn't see?
Oh, well, I mean, I think about that stuff all the time. Like that's how, if I see something or someone brings it up or I notice something, then I'm like when Cerise, when someone brought up that she looked like the Wicked Witch of the West or the evil mom from, the evil step from Coraline.
Well, I know what's Coraline.
I've never seen either, but somebody showed me a picture and she looked exactly like that. And so every time I would see her, I was like, well, great, I can't unsee this and or speak to her ever because I can't focus.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like certain things. Like, I don't know. The examples in How I Met Your Mother were like somebody chews loudly, but you'd never notice it until somebody like kind of brings it up. It's one of those things you never notice until somebody brings it up.
Question 2 on fans. Fan, what kind of fan are you using and what speed are you putting the fan on?
Usually I don't oscillate. I keep it around 2 if it's a 3-setter.
Okay.
And what was the other question? Like what type? So
I was thinking like, are we talking like a big guy? Are we talking like 3 speeds? Are we talking 5 speeds? And then what speed are you putting it on? And
typically
you already said no oscillation, so that's good.
Yeah, I don't do oscillation. Typically, I kept it around 2, directed towards me. And
what part of your body is it directed towards?
It was a stand-up, so it would be on my whole body, basically.
Okay, because it's that big. So you're not like I'm running with like a smaller, a smaller fan that's like the circumference of a basketball. Like the diameter of like the face of my face.
They have a good one like that. I forgot who makes it, like Vortex or somebody makes a really good one.
Yes, it's the size of that. I think mine is like Honeywell or something like that. But it's it looks just.
And you can keep on the ground and actually it circulates really well, even though it's so small.
Yes,
I've never gotten that. I've gotten a straight stand-up fan that's like blown onto the bed.
One of the big guys.
And me and my
an industrial warehouse fan.
Yeah. And me and my. It's funny, though, even when I moved in with my wife, we used a fan.
You moved in with your wife?
Yeah.
What a novel concept.
I know. So when we first started, when we were first together, we used we always had a fan. She had a fan, too. So we would just use it. And, blowing right at us at night. Didn't matter if – and then even the AC was on sometimes.
Oh, boy.
During the summer, yeah. We'd still just have it blowing on us all the time.
Learn something new every day. I have it now. Like, I was just thinking, I was like, I don't really need it, especially now. It's
a circulation. I get very like hot.
Yes, I do. I run. I mean, I'm from fucking north of the wall, so once it hits like 60, I'm hot. But it hasn't been hot enough for the AC. And then when you mentioned the fan thing a couple weeks ago, I suddenly became self-conscious, and I was like, well, maybe I should use the fan. And lo and behold, it's actually been pretty awesome.
Yeah,
so I feel more like a man lately. I've been wearing more.
That's good.
Yeah, I feel like it's important. Yeah, I've been wearing more flannel.
You found an old leather jacket they used to have, and
I got an old leather jacket. I've been wearing a lot of flannel.
Yeah.
I cut down trees sometimes just to do it.
You've been going to like a barbershop who uses like a single blade.
Yep, he sharpens it on this like this thick like leathery sharpener.
Mm-hmm.
I've also bought a motorcycle,
and
I tune it up myself.
Yep.
I also
been going to like Peter Luger's a lot.
Yep. Yep. Big time steak, like fancy steak, like just like anywhere where I'm gonna get meat, because that's what men eat. Like I'm getting meat. I'm getting that. No vegan
bike gang.
Yep. There's the fucking bike gang again. Like just in case we can never drive this home enough. Most people think dirt bikes. Maybe it's because the word dirt is in it. Most people think dirt bikes are for, like, dirt or, like, some type of outdoor thing or competition. No, I realize that because here in the fucking Bronx.
Wait, I told you about that. You didn't see Creed?
No.
Oh, yeah, then we talked about that or whatever. Anyway, the point, because we went on, like, a Kugler thing. But
yes.
The point of it was because of the running scene that Rocky typically has.
Oh,
where everyone starts running behind him and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this one, when Michael B. Jordan was running, there was like over the course of the movie, you saw this like kind of dirt bike kind of gang that was like in the streets of Philly.
Oh boy.
And it ended up like they were like riding like behind him, and then like when he stopped and did like the hands up thing, they like did like smoke circles and like skidded out like around him and stuff.
Well, that's a fun little trinket.
Yeah, so it was like
for that movie, not when
if you are in dirt bikes. But if you're in the city, you're like, oh yeah, that is like a thing. And I just felt like, oh yeah, like I understand why there's dirt bikes. Where other people would be like, what the hell are dirt bikes doing?
I just don't. I first thought that. I was like, are they lost? Like, are they on their way to somewhere? Like, what are they doing with these fucking dirt bikes? And why are there so many? They're like in a gang of like fucking 20. I feel like they're about to go to like a Jets Sharks rumble.
Yeah, I just thought it was power and numbers /
Officer Crop.
Hey, what's louder than whatever? What's the loudest thing we can come up with? Oh, okay, a dirt bike.
A dirt bike. One of our moms.
We can't get we haven't been able to get 20 ambulances yet, so let's get a dirt bike. Yeah.
And then somebody shows up to the dirt bike thing, but has like a moped because he was like, that's all he could afford or all he could get, and he's not allowed to ride.
Bummer.
That's a sad day. Well, I think this was good.
All right,
success.
Top notch.
I'm canning it.
Okay. I think some of that's got to be cut out. How are there 2 Cerise references?
I'm not cutting anything. We're at 47 minutes and 54 seconds, and I'm leaving all of it. Hey there, fourth wall.
It has to go down to 30 minutes. I'd rather it be 30 minutes and not have some gibberish.
Well, unfortunately, you don't do the editing, so it is what it is. Okay, so this is the part where you get an outro to let you know that the episode's over, but just like the intro, we're not good at outros. So we hope you liked the episode, and if you didn't, take a long, hard look at yourself.
In the mirror.
You sound like an idiot.
Thanks.
You sound like a big idiot.
Okay. In a good way or a bad way?
I don't know yet. I'm going to have to listen to it.
Okay, that's fine. All right, do it again.
In the mirror.
All right, go ahead.